Hey everybody, this is Dr. Flight. I hope you're doing great today. I wanted to put together a little video for stage one of the project, and hopefully you'll find this helpful in guiding you to choose your company for the project, and also choose and in doing so choose the industry or the product category that you want to focus on. There's a whole lot of things to consider and to sort of unwrap as we talk about this, and so if you read the entire project, the scope of the project and what your goal is and objective is, what you're going to want to do is create or identify and create, justify a new product idea that a company could offer as part of its product portfolio. And this is a decision that really is focused on three primary kind of pressures, I guess, or issues. One, of course, would be the company that you choose and the resources that company has to create or to offer the product that you ultimately propose. So if a company is really good at doing something, then the new product you offer may be a result of what it is that they're good at doing. However, if you choose a new product idea, but the company doesn't really have the skills or the resources to do that, or if that product doesn't really make sense in the company's portfolio of products, then you're going to run into trouble because it just doesn't make sense. It's not realistic for a company to offer a product that it doesn't have a lot of success in, or may not have a lot of success in producing, or a product that doesn't make sense in their product portfolio. So eventually we'll choose a product, but at first, when you think about the company, that's it. Another of the three things would be the competitive environment or the industry. When we talk about industry, an industry is a collection of companies that perform a service or offer a product that is that satisfies a specific market need. So an industry could have lots of companies in it, and those companies, though, all focus on satisfying a specific market need that's out there, and they compose the industry. So again, when we sometimes call this a product market or an industry or product category. And so we'll look at this a little further here in this short video, but that's kind of the secondary thing you want to think about. The company you choose will offer products within a composite of other companies that compose or make up the product category space that you're looking to focus on. So you need to think about also that industry or that competitive landscape, and bear in mind one company may compete in multiple product categories. So if you look at a conglomerate or a company that has lots of different like industries they operate in, that's fine to do that. It's not a problem to do that. But the company focus that you have will only be on the industry in which your new product's going to be delivered in. Okay, so that's just something we'll talk about here a little later too. The third component of making this decision deals with the market. And the market is the consumers who have a desire or an interest or a need that can be satisfied by this product category. Okay, so the company has skills and resources, the industry, collection of firms and competitors that satisfy a specific need or want. That need or want is satisfied by market. Now, the market can be very generically described. Oftentimes we have generic markets that, like, for instance, if we were to go way out and say soft drink consumers, that's a generic market. Soft drink consumers would be a group of consumers or the market of consumers that have a interest or desire need for soft drinks or soda, right? But that's very generic. We might have a group or a subgroup of those consumers who are conscious about their caloric intake, and they only want diet beverages, and diet sodas would would in essence be not a niche, but a segment of the market. And the generic market again is soft drink consumers. This would be diet soft drink consumers. And then we have some folks who don't want any, they don't like cola, for instance. They don't like Dr. Pepper or Coke or Pepsi or things like that. And so they want maybe Sprite or Fresca or Mountain Dew or something. So again, you can kind of slice markets up, right? And every time you take a slice, you get a smaller and smaller group of consumers, but a more narrowly defined market segment. Okay, and so as we kind of walk through this process, again, it's never too early to think about this big third component that I'm talking about when you're choosing your company and your industry, choosing also a market at the same time. Okay, so you got to think of all three of these together simultaneously. And so in stage one, what we want to do is we want to choose a company that is large enough to have information publicly available to you so that you can do analysis on their financials, so you can understand their product portfolios. You can understand, you can do searches for latest news and identify what they're looking into, what they're doing, where their strategic kind of planning is leading them. Those are all things that we want to do when we look at a company. We want to understand and know as much as we can about that company. And so we would anticipate you would do a significant amount of research on the company, just understanding who they are, their history, the people who are running the company, who's their CEO, who's their CMO, what markets they do business in, what product categories they do business in. Again, those are two vitally important questions to ask right now when you're choosing a company. Okay, I've suggested a few ideas here of industries or product categories: skincare, apparel, accessories, and entertainment technology. Now, you can certainly choose others. I'm not, these are things to think about. These are nice areas to be in. You can choose a company that participates in one of these areas. That would be fine to do that. But you do need to specify and be very specific as early as possible to define that product category and go on from there. Okay, so those are just some thoughts on the stage one. It should be a pretty quick thing. You should be able to knock this out pretty quickly, move right into stage two. This should not be a long thing, but you do need to let me know who your company is, who your product category is, or what it is, and we'll probably have a little discussion about that, maybe emails back and forth or whatnot, but I want it to be clear that we're on the same page so that you don't move forward without the best foot forward, that you know what you're doing and I know what you're doing so that you have success in this project. If you don't define your company, don't define the product category real well now, you will have trouble later. So put thought and effort and communicate with me. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. So a little bit more, I want to just offer a little bit more information about this whole idea that we have. And really it's something we call a product market. And this is, let me just pull this up here in a presentation. There's something called a product market, which is something, it's a way we can analyze kind of what's going on, do strategy, and understand how competition works. And you probably haven't seen this before, so it's important to just offer this to you, and gives you a different perspective on how you view the competitive landscape. And again, we're talking about strategic management, strategic marketing here, strategy, right? So you should have a basis and understand basically what marketers do in general. But this is like at a very high level of the organization, and this is what the Chief Marketing Officer, CMO, was really focused on much of their time. Okay, so let's talk about what's called a product market, and it's exactly what it is. It's the definition of a product category and the customers who consume those products. So they exist when buyers exist with needs and products exist in order to satisfy those needs. Two key terms you need to remember. One is a market. When we say a market, it's a group of consumers that have the ability and the willingness to buy a product. They have a specific need that needs to be filled, and that need is defined. So it's not just a group of consumers, it's a group of consumers that are willing to buy, willing to satisfy their need, and their need is well defined. Second term here you need to know is simply industry. An industry is a group of companies or group of organizations that are able to produce a product or service that satisfies the predetermined, specified, and well-defined need that the customer has. Okay, so it's not just a random group of companies, it's a specific group of companies who operate in the same space to a market. And so you have direct competitors, you have competitors who basically are vying for market share within a group of consumers, which is the market. And again, remember, you can define a market in generic terms or in product specific terms and need specific terms. And the more we do that, the more focus and the better we do. Okay, so this actual process, there's actually a process here which I use in a lot of different classes for defining and analyzing product markets. We're going to talk about just a couple of these here, but a couple of these we also do in this project. We describe the end user, we analyze competition. We do those in later stages. So those are things that we do. We also try to forecast market conditions and some stuff like that. But this would be in a deeper conversation, product markets. I'm just offering you an overview today just to give you just kind of a little feedback or background, if you will, on this stage one process. So let's just talk about what a product market is. There's something called boundaries and structure in a product market. So what we do is we first define a generic market or generic product category, and then we subsequently get more specific and define layers of that product market or that. And so when we talk about like the generic market, the next layer down might be market segments, and then the next layer down might be market niches, right? So each time we do that, and then below that we get really one-to-one marketing where each consumer is its own market. So in other words, we start with a broad mass market definition of the market, and then each layer, as we develop the structure, it gets more specific and more specific and more specific. And then likewise, the products that serve a mass market are vastly different than the products that serve segments and the products that serve niches and the products that serve one-to-one customers. So we're going to just kind of do this as a couple examples. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's really just background information that will help you in this project. Just conceptualize the market space. That's what you need to do any really good marketing plan. And this is a product development market plan, a product market plan. So if you really want to do a great one in the real world, you have to understand the market space. You can't spend too much time doing this. Just spend all the time you need. So here, morning hunger, food, beverages, breakfast meal. This is like a generic need, right? You wake up in the morning, you're hungry. What am I going to eat? There are all kinds of things you could eat. You have eggs, you have bacon, you could have grits, you could have cereal, you could have oatmeal, you could have a shake, you could have, right? I mean, there are all kinds of things that you could have. So this is a generic need, right? We break that down though. Each one of these little individual arrows could be a different thing. And I've just pointed down to cereals. That's one type of food that someone could eat for breakfast, right? That's a product type though. Right? So cereals indirectly compete with eggs and bacon, but eggs and bacon and cereal are not the same product category. They're different product categories, even though they satisfy the same need, right? So think very carefully about who your competitors are if you are in the cereal space. Obviously, other cereal makers are your direct competitors, but there are also these indirect substitute products as well that happen also to serve the generic need, but not the specific need if somebody wants a cereal for breakfast. So now we're in the cereal product category. That's a product type. And then we have different variants beneath that cereal. So again, cereals, how many different cereals are there? Well, there's the kind in the box. There's ready to eat cereals, which are the typical ones that you see. There's probably different types of cereals that you have to do something to. Again, if there's ready to eat out of a box, like Fruit Loops or Cheerios, right? We have ones that are more natural or healthy nature, a whole grain, no sugar, anything like that. There are some that are pre-sweetened. There are others. So this is, again, this variant level describes. So in other words, Fruit Loops, while it competes with Cheerios, it probably competes more with Captain Crunch or with Lucky Charms, right? As opposed to Kashi, any whole grain type of cereal probably competes with Cheerios more so, right? So even within these variants, we have direct competitors and indirect competitors, and then up above we have substitutes. So I could choose not to have my Kashi whole grain cereal this morning. I could have eggs and bacon, or I could have Fruit Loops, right? Fruit Loops is a closer, trade-off, a closer competitor, but it's more likely if I'm not going to have Kashi, I'll have Cheerios. Cheerios is even a closer competitor to me in that variant space. Okay, so again, this takes a lot of thinking and a lot of structure. You have to really, really lay this out on a map, write it down on a piece of paper, and really consider the product category space as you define the market, define the product market area. Now, layered on top of this concept, each one of these spaces here that we're looking at has a specific group of consumers that's well defined, that has specific demographics, specific behavioral patterns, specific psychographics. They're their own market segments. So when we do market segmenting, this is another way to think about market segmenting only from a product category perspective. We've defined the product category, but also as we define the product category, we're identifying a specific type of customer that is likely to buy that product. So in other words, the consumer who's going to buy an all-natural cereal, that definition of that customer profile, the person who does that, is vastly different than the person who is going to buy a pre-sweetened sugary cereal. They're buying for different reasons. They have different demographics. They have different behavioral patterns. They have different interests, right? So they're totally different consumer segments, even though they're satisfying the same generic need. Okay, so this is how specific you have to get in this project. You have to truly identify the market space that you're dealing with, because your new product is going to fall in one of these spaces. So for instance, I could choose to create a new cereal, and maybe, how about this? What if I created a new cereal? This would be wild. I'm just making this up. That had the cereal in the box, and then inside the box it had a separate pouch of sugary something that you sprinkled on top. So in other words, you could have the cereal plain, maybe it's Cheerios, plain, but then you have a little pouch that you could sprinkle on your cereal, kind of like a seasoning, and it would taste cinnamony sweet or something like that. And you could actually pick and choose your cereal toppings, and that could be what you add on there. Maybe your product is a separate little cereal topping that you sprinkle on top, and it comes in like a little spice jar and it sits on the shelf, and so you pour in your healthy cereal, and then if you want a little variation, you sprinkle on a seasoning. How about that? Now, who would the market be that we're selling this to? Would it be the market segment of natural eaters like for the natural, maybe. Maybe it would be a market for the pre-sweetened cereal market segment who wants to be a little healthier. So you could actually do something where you kind of touch different market segments, but you have to have a plan to do that. You have to have a rationale or a reasoning to do this. Okay, so I just wanted to offer a relatively quick illustration of how deep you need to think when we're doing stage one here and what is going to help you do the next stages. Because here's the deal. If we define this really well right now, our stage two, stage three work deals with identifying trends, identifying industry, elements, doing the environmental scan, looking at the competitors. Well, now once this is defined, now you know exactly who to look for, and you're not like all over the map. If I know that my competitors are in the natural cereal market space, I'm not going to look at egg distributors and sausage makers and people who offer breakfast cereals but don't offer breakfast cereals or breakfast meals but don't offer foods that would be considered my customers' competitors, right? Okay, so at any rate, this is the goal. This is kind of where we're going with this. Again, stage one, identify your company that you're going to adopt. Make sure that company has lots of information available out there for them. But again, if it's an enormous company, you have to narrow down to the specific division that offers the product and the market that you're going to work in. Okay, so it's not the big, huge company like Apple, for instance. Apple's a big company, but you might only be maybe doing an app for a phone, for an Apple phone or something like that. So it's like kind of a phone would be kind of, and the app might be in that space or something like that. I don't know. And we'd have to think about it, and but let me know what you're thinking of, and I'll help you guide you through this process. Okay. What I don't want is to go through this, let a week or two go by, and you spring on me some company, and it's just an absolute disaster. There's no reason for that. If it's a disaster, it's because you didn't come to me and we didn't talk about it, basically. So I don't want that. I want you to have a great project, but that starts by making sure you communicate with me and let me know what works for you. So I hope this helps guide you through stage one. We'll have other videos here on other stages coming right up. So to help guide you through this, let me know how everything's going. Thanks.